Welcome everybody to Tales from the Tackle Shop. Unbelievably, we are flying into episode 7 and not even COVID can stop us because I'm in my kitchen and Alex is somewhere down the road in his house. So, good evening, Alex.
Good evening, mate. You alright?
Yeah, I'm okay. Just can't catch any pike, but still giving it a go.
No change then, eh?
But yeah, I don't know. God, it's just been too difficult. I'm going to give up and go catching. I might take up match angling again and give you a run for your money.
Yeah. Next joke.
Have you had a good week?
Nah. It's like back to square one again, isn't it? It's like snakes and ladders. You get to number 99, your way back to number 5. It's, yeah, a bit frustrating, really. But you know, you got to do what you got to do, and back to the one-way system at the front of the shop. And don't know. Obviously, no match has been allowed is a big negative for the fishery and for the shop, because match anglers don't generally go pleasure fishing. So, you know, I do rely quite a bit on the match angling trade, but there's still quite a few anglers about. It's good to see lots of families out again this weekend. The weather's been good, so yeah, it's been steady, mate.
Well, I think when I phoned you Saturday or Sunday, no, Sunday morning, wasn't it? You already had 20 people fishing at the fishery, and
Yeah.
it wasn't exactly the weather was all right, I suppose. And yeah, you've been busy, which is good. But I think we're all fed up with this now. But after tonight's announcement, it could be some good news with that vaccine. So I think there is light at the end of the tunnel, and you maggot drowners will be able to get your big maggot out, your pinky and your squat, and have a few matches soon. So it'll be happy days.
Get your pint of big red maggot.
Yeah, pint of big red.
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you what though, there's a few anglers out because there's people been out giving things a go. And I tell you what, I've noticed on Facebook as well, because obviously Facebook is very important in our lives. Some of your acquaintances from the match scene have been trying different venues, so that's been quite good. They've been, you know, spreading their wings and going somewhere different. So we'll talk about that towards the end. Perhaps about some forgotten venues, some forgotten places that people might try over the next 3 or 4 weeks. Now, we're going to try something different because obviously we haven't got any match results to speak of. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little focus on some of the angling clubs in the area that perhaps we haven't mentioned too much in the past. So what we'll do, we're going to focus on St Ives in a few minutes. So that'd be quite cool to talk about 1 or 2 different angling clubs. But before we get on there, Alex, I have a couple of questions for you off some of the listeners from YouTube, which was good. So people are using the YouTube comment section.
YouTube, as you say around here.
YouTube.
Yeah. See on YouTube.
Oh dear, that was quite a good impersonation, wasn't it?
Yeah. Fenland boomer.
Were you born in March?
No. I was born in the capital of the Fens, Ely.
That's not the capital of the Fens.
No. Where you're from?
Wisbech is the capital of the Fens, mate. Don't forget.
Yeah. Why?
Well, it just is. It's the middle of the flat bit.
Middle of the flat bit.
Yeah.
Is that why it's the worst?
Mate, it used to be the best. It was a lovely place. It's just lost its identity a little bit, but we won't get onto that. Right, where were you? Come on, where were you born? You didn't answer my question.
I was born in the RAF hospital in Ely.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
So why do you support Newcastle?
Because, well, why would I support Ely Town? Are they any good? They're about as good as Marchtown, they are. Even Tid St Giles under 18's probably in a player in a higher league. I don't know. Well, when I was about 7, 8, I suppose, when you start getting into football as a kid, and Newcastle were one of the best teams with old, I'd love it if we beat them, Kevin Keegan in charge. So, I don't know, really. It was Les Ferdinand, Pete Beardsley, and then obviously Alan Shearer joined. And yeah, I'm just a Newcastle fan, and I've always stuck with them.
So you went for the glory first when they were winning.
Oh yeah, when you're 7 and 8, you don't go. You either go, "I like the colour they play football in," or if your dad supports the team, or who's top of the league. So, Mighty Magpies.
I thought you might have had some relatives up there or something. But no,
No, no.
Eli. You're born in Eli.
Yeah, I'm a proper Fen boy.
Yeah, I'll let you off then. Right, you qualify.
Strong in the arm, thick in the head, Femboy born, Femboy bred. That's what they say, don't they?
I'm not. I've heard that once before, and that was last year when you said it
Yeah.
in the podcast. But
Yeah.
we'll go with that one. We like that one.
Yeah.
Right, let's get to these questions. So, Dean Bayliss had a good question.
Right.
And obviously, we're looking forward to the future now, and probably be just after Christmas. He would like to know how to enter the March Open, or one of the March Opens.
Well, the same as it has been for the last, 20 plus years, I would have thought, with Bob Fitzjohn organising them. Just phone Bob up and he books you in. As simple as that.
Cool.
He's the man. He's the one that's been doing it. He pegs it in the dark, so that's how many times he's done it. He can do it blindfolded. Yeah. So just speak to bring Bob Fitzjohn.
Blindfolded.
He could. It's all in his head. I reckon he's half asleep, or he's definitely half pissed when he pegs it out. That's dead cert, isn't it? That one.
Oh, he likes a beer, doesn't he? Old cheesy.
Oh, it ain't easy being cheesy.
It
No.
definitely isn't easy being cheesy. No.
No.
No. Do you want
So
to?
yeah, I mean, just give Bob a ring.
What's his phone number? Are we allowed to give it out on air?
Yeah, I'm sure he won't mind. Everyone's got Bob's number, haven't they?
Yeah.
Let's find it. Bob Fitztench. Let's find him. Here he is.
Is that what he's called? I've got me cheesy.
It's Bob Fitztench. He's the man. Right, phone's doing all sorts. So it's just had it, then it's gone off. Right. So Bob Fitzjohn is 07970 673 439.
Perfect.
And I don't think there's a March Open. Obviously, there's none at the minute, but the next official one is the 20th December, as far as we know.
So hopefully,
all being well.
Yeah, all being well.
Yeah.
I've got I don't know, mate. I don't want to jinx anything. I think we could be in. Well, you boys could be in. I like it when you have matches on because it keeps you out of my way for a few days before and after.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, we need a few. We need the matches back on just to keep you lot happy and out of my way, and I can get in and then blank in style. Right, Dean, good question. So that answers that one. Okay, we've got another one from Michael Gray. You answered this question last week on raking a river. Do you remember how long to leave it before you fish?
Was that last week? I think it was the week before.
Oh, okay. I don't know what day. I don't even know where we are. What day is it?
No,
Whenever.
Normally a Monday.
Yeah, whenever. So last week before, and he's extended the question.
Right.
Now, this is not an easy one to answer. He is getting plagued by mitten crabs. He didn't say if he was...
Mitten crabs?
Yep, didn't say if he was float fishing ledgering. I presume from what he said he's a big maggot man like yourself.
Big red maggot.
Big red maggot. Do you get plagued much by mitten crabs?
Not that I know of, no. I've never even... The only place I've caught mitten crabs is on the Tidal on the 100 foot quite a few years ago now, but I suppose they're like crayfish, really. I don't really know the exact answer for that either, but I mean, we don't get many of them pestered by, so I don't think your rig gets to the bottom half the time before a roach has taken it through the winter. But I mean, normally we try to avoid fish meal ground baits. Not that we do use a lot of fish meal ground baits, if any, on the drains, to be honest. And sometimes worms. They do like worms, crayfish, and I'm sure mitten crab will like worms as well. But I I don't know really. Maybe we'll have to ask Spolt, see what they like to eat and how to avoid them.
Well,
So
he'd be the opposite, wouldn't he? He want to attract them, so he
yeah,
probably use his natural body odor to attract them into the swim. I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we'll ask him when we next see him. But
yeah.
it's not a full moon yet, so he's not about. So
No.
no, the Fenland creature only comes out at certain moon phases. Right. I've got an answer from a carp angler's perspective. Believe it or not.
Right.
Don't
Right.
ask me how. I was talking to a guy today who I know goes carp fishing, and I had this mitten crab question in the back of my head, and I said, "What do you guys do?" Because I know they put like a
Yeah, that
shrink wrap.
cage and
Yeah,
stuff.
they put like a
Yeah.
shrink wrap around the boilies, don't they? When they go to France and places when they get
Yeah.
plagued by whatever. And
Yeah.
he said, I use hot spicy pepperami.
Right.
I went, what? He goes, yeah. He goes, crayfish hate it.
Really?
Yeah. He says, I use hot, spicy pepperami tipped with a bit of plastic corn. Never, ever get plagued by them. So there you go. There's a little tip from the carp fishing world. Has to be the hot, spicy pepperami. He says it's in a very black, dark wrapper. But
Right.
there you go. And carp do like pepperami. So if you ever get plagued by the crustaceans, you know what to do.
Pack up and go home.
Well, don't go carp fishing to start off with. That might be a start.
Yeah.
But there we go.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well answered. So 2 questions there. We've had a really good question from Marcus Aurelius, aka Mark Shipley, but we'll
Right.
get onto that in a bit because that's quite an in-depth one. And I think we're going to throw it open to anybody and everybody listening because he's had some really good suggestions, but we'll do that one later. I think what we'll do first, Alex, is I had a guy called Mick Andrews message me during the week, and I believe he's the match secretary of St Ives Angling Society. And
Yep.
Mick has sent me a lot of information about St Ives. This is great because we haven't had much on about St Ives at all. And I'll be honest with you, I don't fish out that way. So it's the Ouse. It's the Ouse out that way, and I just haven't fished it at all. Have you fished that stretch much around there?
Not a great deal, mate. No. I fished it for a handful of times in the old Hayjack teams of 4, and we used to have a couple of rounds of the Winter League on there a few years back, first or second round, I think it was. But that's the only real time I get to fish that. I mean, when that's sort of in form, is normally when I'm in September, is when I'm in Ireland, that sort of time of year, and they catch on the wheat and the seed. I know it's fantastic. Produces some fantastic bags of roach and dace and that on the wheat and seed.
Yeah, well, he's given me a lot of information, so I'm going to do the best I can to get this across to everybody, because he must have spent hours doing this, which is great. But something we'll get onto at the end, and I want to mention at the beginning as well. They're catching a lot of bream off there at the minute, by the looks of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a 2 or 3 bream shoals along there, definitely. And when the river's in the right condition, so when you've had a lot of rain and it's not too heavily coloured, but carrying a bit of extra flow and pace, then bream do switch on. And I think Nobles Field is a place, and there's 2 or 3 areas where they catch them.
Yeah, cool. Okay, right. I'll go through what people need to know, because obviously we want to promote all the angling clubs in the area. So we'll start from the beginning. So if you want to fish the St Ives water, the full membership is £20, and it's £6 for a day ticket.
Yep.
If you go and pay on the bank, it's a tenner. So I think that's pretty fair, actually. If you haven't got organised beforehand, you have to pay a little bit more on the bank. So that's pretty well organised from that perspective. And you can get these tickets from several different outlets. And I believe you sell the tickets in the shop at Pidley.
Yeah, we've got club books, mate, and some day tickets, yep. Yep.
Cool. So if people want any books, they just get in touch with Alex. They've had a good season selling tickets. They've got probably 100 full members, and it looks like the club is getting bigger and bigger, which is great. And it's quite interesting because Mick sent me some information about they started in 1881.
Yeah, Obviously, a lot of the anglers use the shop and that, and I've heard about all the trophies and different competitions I've had over the years, and how many anglers used to fish, and there's some quite prestigious cups, I think.
Yeah, I mean, 1881. I mean, God, I would have been 3. Did you
Mm.
notice? I said that before you said it.
What?
I kind of thought you were going to take the mick about how old I was, so I just thought I'd get it in there first.
83. Cool, dear.
No, I said I would have been. Don't. Oh, it's obviously the lag on the phone. Anyway, yeah, 1881. So I think they're one of the. Yeah,
1881.
1881.
I
Yes,
was going to
not
say.
1981. 1881, believed to be one of the oldest clubs in England. But yeah,
Really?
hence my joke. I was yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so
Yeah, I thought you
1881.
said 1981. I thought, eh?
No,
Yeah,
1881. I mean, that is they've got they've got minutes going back quite some time, so that is quite amazing. So they've got a club steeped in history. Just looking at the club waters, Alex, you might be able to expand on this slightly. On the Ouse itself, they've got A section, B section, C section, D section, and an area called Meadow Lane. A section that you mentioned was a Noblesfield to Hemmingford, and they've
yeah,
got different sections as well. Now, what I'm going to do as we go through this, I'm going to just explain the access to A section, but there's a link that Mick has sent me, and I'm going to put it on our Tales from the Tackle Shop page, because each section is quite unique. It's you have to do your homework to fish these sections to get access to different parts of the stretches. So it sounds like they've got some awesome water on the Ouse, but if you're going to join the club, you do need to do a bit of background work first, just to work out how to get to each section. But do you know what? I think that's the best way of fishing, isn't it? Where you find a little out the way place that you're quite happy with. You have that sort of feeling that, yeah, this looks fishy. So I think this would be quite an interesting club to explore. They've also got a chub stream as well, and I was looking on their Facebook page, and there's some clonking chub come out of this river. Chub to nearly £7. I saw pictures of, and that's amazing.
nice. Yeah, you don't get many of them about these days, do you, Chubb?
No, they look like quite recent pictures as well. They've also got a stretch of water which isn't linked to the club, which is free fishing, but the club use, called the Waits.
Yep,
Have
yep.
you fished on there?
I've not fished it. I've seen it quite a few times. It's strange little water. It's similar to like the Hembrook and other little venues in the town where you've got a little bit of backwater, where I think the heavier the river is in flood and coloured, the more fish get in the Waits there, and it's fairly comfortable fishing. You ain't got far to walk. It's narrow, shallow, just your typical Fenland little hot spot where they're going to congregate, really.
Yeah,
Nice and safe from predators.
I
And
think you're right. It looks like the roach back up in there when there's a lot of flow. But I'm watching some of the weights they're getting out. They're getting like 30 odd pound of roach out of there, which is
yeah,
really good fishing. But we'll come on to that in a bit. Now, I just wanted to talk about platforms, because I don't know. You
yeah,
go out onto the old course of the Nene out here in March, and it's getting really muddy already. And this club have been
yeah,
really proactive. They've got 11 platforms on section A, 10 on section B, and
yeah. They're not your standard platforms either. These are like mega, like them plastic coated type platforms, non-slip. They are really, really special platforms. They go out right out into the river as well.
really, they've got 26 in total. And from the information that Mick's given me, this obviously helps when they run the hayjack. So I think they have the hayjack every September, and they have like 32 anglers along these stretches. So, I mean, if you're a match angler, that's just incredible, because I know you match anglers a bit like tarts, really, and you like it flat. You don't want to get too dirty. Get your platform nice and level. You're very similar to carp anglers, really. Do you have spirit levels to get the boxes level?
You're comparing us to carp anglers. You're having a laugh, aren't you?
You've got all these little arms sticking out of your boxes and your platforms. And
Yeah, but this does a job, mate. There's the reason why we get in the water is for an advantage. You're not casting a shadow. It's all tactical stuff. It's
I'll tell you,
not just to make look good.
what we'll be seeing next is when you put in your £10 bag of little bits back, you'll be in the water with your chest waders on, getting that ultimate picture.
Yeah,
Can you explain
yeah.
why do carp anglers do that?
Well, it's fish safety, isn't it?
No, it's not.
If you drop it, yeah, it is. If you drop it, you're putting it back in the lake. You're not dropping it on a concrete platform, or that's
No,
it's just
they've already taken 500 photographs on an hook above an unhooking mat, and then they put it on the unhooking mat, and someone throws a bit of water over it. Then they put their chest waders on, and then they get in the water and then hold it again. And I just think, oh, just put the bloody thing back.
it's what they do, isn't it?
It's only a big
It's what it
It's a
is.
big goldfish anyway. Just put it back. It'd be all right. It's called
Yeah,
scar or big fin or 3 scale. So
yeah, yeah. Well, pike fishing's getting like that as well, but they just don't tell anyone that they've caught them.
mate, old school
Because
pipe
there ain't
pikers.
that many big pike about, but they're all named, or people know where they are, it's no different really. It's just the big pike are probably harder to catch.
If anybody's out there and knows where there's any big pike,
Yeah,
just message me, please, because
yeah,
I am desperate.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I am. I'm going to have to start.
I know where there's big pike. All been stuffed and they're in tubs hanging up above the door.
I'm going to have to start chasing.
That's why there's
them.
no big pike.
Oh, mate, we won't go on that. Anyway, let's get back to St Ives. Right. Yeah, so they've got these platforms, which is brilliant. It looks like it's a really friendly club. I mean, I was looking at some of the match results, and we got some of the people that we know. Rob Hewison fishes with them, and
Yeah.
who's the guy that makes
Rob
the floats?
Humphries.
Who's the guy that makes the floats? Really nice man who I spoke to.
Graham.
Graham.
Welton.
Yeah, so they all fish during the summer, and by the looks of things, it's a bit like you lot with nicknames for the anglers in the shop. They've all got nicknames for each other. So
Yeah.
if anybody lives in the area and wants to get into match fishing, or is a match angler that has probably dropped out for a little while, or is just thinking of something new, it sounds like a really, really friendly club. So obviously, have a look for St Ives.
The other thing about the matches is you can drive in and park behind your peg. You can't get much more comfortable fishing than that. You drive in, park behind your peg. You got a platform. You got lovely, beautiful scenery. It's really is nice. It is nice.
Yeah, I mean, the access information that I was about to read out, Mick mentions that, is that for the matches, they're allowed to actually, like you said, drive in. So that is really cool, because I know you guys, you don't want to walk very far, do you? With all that.
Well,
You've got your barrows, you've got your little spirit levels.
yeah.
You've got your big maggot,
matching underpants.
big maggot box. You've got your squat box, your pinky box. Okay, right. So they've also been having home and away matches. They've been fishing against St Ives, and they had an away match, I think, earlier in the year, but COVID seems to put paid to the reverse fixture. And in the past, they've also had these pairs matches with March Angling Club. So they're quite open to doing this with other local clubs as well. So if any other local clubs would like to have like a home and away match with St Ives, just get in touch with Mick and he will arrange it. So that's really good that they do all these different things. The fishing at the minute just seems to be unbelievable on there, because normally they wait for the water levels to decrease and so forth and so on. But the amount of roach they've caught this year is phenomenal. And at the minute, there's some big bream catches as well. I mean, I saw this morning, Mick sent me a video of a guy with a £60 bag from yesterday. Did you see that one, Alex?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So lovely fishing.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a bit worried because they had a seal on the section last year, and they're a bit worried that they might have lost a few of the bream. But I know they had some big bags of bream last week and last week, and obviously it's continued, so that's really good. And I've already spoken about the chub fishing. There's a lot of decent chub in the lower down section as well.
Some big perch as well. Very big perch.
Seem to be, yeah.
I know a few of the lads, obviously, that fished the summer series, and the amount of fish that were getting taken off the hook by perch was unreal. Some really big perch as well. Really big ones.
It sounds like they got a water which is at the minute getting towards the peak of its power.
Yeah.
Okay, junior section. Now, they had a really, really good junior section. They had a connection with a teacher at the local St Ivo, and they used to run junior matches every year, and it was even sponsored by a local double glazing firm. sadly, that's dropped off. Like most, I think we spoke about it last week. Most clubs, they really are struggling with junior sections for one reason or another, whether it be the fact that the kids have other interests or whatever. So St Ives are really, really keen to push the junior section. They see quite a lot of lads fishing down the way, and if anybody lives in this area and would like, who's got a youngster or a youngster's listening to the podcast and would like to start getting in touch with St Ives Angling Club, they are really keen to push a junior section as well. And I think they've got a guy called Bob Bailey who's been qualified as a coach, an angling coach. Do you know anything about that,
Yeah,
Alex?
I know Bob. Yeah, he's been in quite a few times with this year with families that are getting into fishing, and he's coached them, and yeah, he's doing a great job. He is very good job.
Yeah, so they're really, really keen to get that off the ground. So anybody interested in getting their juniors into fishing in that area, get in touch with Mick. Right, I'm just going to find the message he sent me with the access, because this will explain to people how.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, he went all quiet then.
Yeah, we're doing the podcast via phones, people, so it's all a bit weird, isn't it? Bear with me 1 minute, buddy. I just got to find this. Hold on a sec. Okay, just to give everybody an example of that, you need to do your homework. I'm just going to tell you how to get to A section, which is top of Dolphin Meadow at the Hemmingford end. You need to take the London Road, Hemmingford Road and St Ives Road to Church Street in Hemmingford, Grey, just past the post office. You take a right-hand fork and follow Mill Lane to Meadow Lane. So obviously you need to look online or become a member of the club to get a bit orientated with this. At the end of this Meadow Lane, it becomes a farm track, and there are two gates at the end of this track. Members can park on the right-hand side of the track, but it's only a maximum of 2 cars. And this is what I was trying to explain to people earlier. You do need to know where you're parking up. They're allowed to open the gates for vehicle access on club matches in the summer. So, as Alex was saying, it's quite nice to get behind your peg. So, that is how to get to Section A. And I had a look early online, and each section's got its own unique way to access the river. So, guys out there, if you're in the area of St Ives, it sounds like a fantastic little club to join. They've got a big membership already, so obviously there's lots of things happening on that water. But you do need to do your homework for how to access individual sections. And I just know from experience of joining other clubs that it's really important that you get the access right, so you don't annoy other users as well, because the last thing you want to do is join a club and then mess up the access, and then the club get into trouble because it just causes a bit of angst where it's not necessary. Right, one final thing on the club front. I've been looking at the results and trying to find my piece of paper. Now, I think talking to Mick before the Opens, they had quite a lot of guys entering the matches, but as soon as the Opens start, they tend to lose a few of their anglers. So they have sort of a 4 or 5 guys in the matches. And this just gives listeners an idea of what was happening. So on the 29th of October, they went to fish the Waits, which is the free fishing in the town. Mick had £31. I think it was roach. A guy called Eric Hassel had £16 and Ian Lamb had £15. So a few anglers fishing on that little stretch. There's a hell of a lot of fish rammed in there. And it sounds very similar to a bit like the old course of the Nene in March by the sounds of things. And then they had another...
Yeah.
Is it?
Yes, very similar. Yeah.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they had another get-together at Noble's End on the 1st of November, and Mick had £32, and I know that was mainly bream, because he sent me the pictures, and a guy called Dave Chandler had £16. So, obviously, a lot of fish, and then the chap yesterday had the £60 bag of bream from A section, which is Noble... Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Don't know what that was. So, a guy yesterday had £60 from Noble's Field. So, it sounds like a club that's on the up and up. It sounds like the Ooze is fishing its nuts off. And this small backwater that they've got free fishing on sounds absolutely phenomenal. I saw some of the roach. And Alex, they look like half, 3/4 pound size fish.
Yeah, lovely fish. But it's proper river. There's not that. There's some big dace in there as well. A lot of dace.
Is there really?
Yeah, a lot of dace in there. There's I know they get rudd as well. Bit of everything, really. Bit of everything.
Cool. Okay, so hopefully we've done justice to St Ives Angling Club tonight. If you need extra information, chap to get in touch with is a guy called Mick Andrews. He's the match secretary. Look online for them. Alternatively, you can get in touch with ourselves through Tales from the Tackle Shop, and we'll put you in touch with him. And also, guys can phone you, Alex, at the shop, and you can give them some information as well. Cool, that would be good, because I must admit, I haven't fished around that area much at all. I know Hemmingford a little bit, but I'm thinking, yeah, I quite... These chub, when I look for these photos, I'm thinking, that's not that far away, and these are clonkers. I think they've had barbel as well on the streamier section upstream of the town. It sounds like it's you get little hidden gems, don't you?
You do, yeah.
And I think I get very much into a routine of, I must fish here, must fish there, must fish there. If you're not careful, you end up fishing the same places all the time. So it's good to sort of spread your wings and keep an ear out about what's happening. And this club's got some fantastic water. Now, we spoke about the weights, as in that backwater. And you were mentioning to me off air that there's several other little venues that are kind of popping up on the grapevine.
Yeah, I've written down a list of loads of different venues, some venues that we don't really fish anymore, but these venues that typically the fish migrate to, or for one reason or another, whether it's predators, cormorants, things like that, pushing them in there, or like with the weights at St Ives, the flow of the main river pushes them out into the backwaters. So yeah, obviously you've got Hembrook at St Neots. I think Mark Pollard's done a feature in match fishing this month or last month, I'm not too sure now, but it's very similar to like the weights, a little section that runs off the main ooze, fish pack in there. There's the angling club have done a lot. There's some nice pegs all the way through there. It's comfortable fishing, and when the fish are there, it's a fish a chuck. So it's another cracking little venue to try. There's obviously, the easy ones to go through, but a venue that doesn't probably get fished that much, but again is very good is the Wissy at Hilgy. You must have fished there, Andy, surely.
Well, when you said Hilgy, the cut-off channel used to be.
Yeah,
back
when used to be. Yeah.
Do you know, I was having a bit of a brain fart then. I was about to say when I was your age, but it wasn't. It was when I remembered you being... when I was about 14, 15, this is how long ago it was. It's a long time ago. Hilgy had some clonking roach cut-off.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. They used to have matches both banks, didn't they? Yeah. Quite a lot of matches on there.
And there's massive roach come out. But I remember seeing a roach over £3 came out of Fordham Bridge, one of our matches.
Really?
Yeah. I suppose it might, back in the day, it might have been a bit of a hybrid, but it certainly looked like a roach. Reg Sutterby caught it. It was monstrous. Yeah, anyway, I digress. Yeah, the Wissy. Now, that's an interesting river. Did they have... They had a bit of a fish kill on there, didn't they, in August? But I think it was mainly perch.
Yeah, I think perch and predators are one of the main things to go, aren't they, when there's a bit of a oxygen or whatever problem. But again, the fish all migrate into that town bit there. There's plenty of pike as well. It's
very shallow.
Fishing.
It's shallow, isn't it?
Yeah, it's shallow. It moves quick. Hemp and tears. Some people fish bread punch. You fish waggler or stick float or just your general pole and whip.
Where would you
park?
It's one
of the venues.
If you go in there? Because the parking's a bit difficult, isn't it?
We used to park in Hilgy. Obviously, if you're not parking on double yellow lines, you used to drop a gear off and then drive into the town and park sensibly there.
Right.
But yeah, just fish right next to the bridge there on the concrete, or actually go in the field opposite the boats, opposite the willow there. There's probably 10 pegs there, I suppose, that you can fish.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of the venues that no one really talks about, but when it's on, it's brilliant fishing. Yeah. It really is good.
It's mainly roach, isn't it?
It is. There's some big perch as well. You get some dace through there, some big bleak. bit of all sorts, really, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, um, a venue I looked at this week on my way home. It's a bit sad, really, to see it sort of disappear over the last what. Uh, I did some digging on the internet, and I think 2005 to 2007 was when I used to fish it in the Chatteris Winter League, individual Winter League, and used to get 25 anglers on there, and that's Horseway Sluice,
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
the very top end of the 40 foot. I had a look along it, and access is pretty good. It's all in trees. It reminds me a bit of sort of French Drove in the width and the depth. It's very shallow, but there just doesn't seem to be the fishing there like they used to. But I think the bit that used to be the best was near the bridge, sort of just off the road there. That bit's sort of very, very clear and shallow now. But I think a bit further down last year or year before it got dredged. And it looks like there might be a few fish down that end. Um, so it's one of them venues, if you've got a few hours, maybe just take a whip and give it a go and see what you think. But I mean, it used to be phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal fishing. Used to, I mean, I think Dave Priestley won a match, won one of them with about £33 just on whips, 4 metre whip to hand, 3 metre whip to hand. Or you could go and fish Emp and Tears and catch 25 to £30. I remember midweek matches on there, you catch that regularly and you catch £25 and not win anything sometimes.
I think back in the day, obviously,
Mm,
again, I'm going to say this before you do, before I was born.
yeah,
I think that you used to be able to get from the 16 foot down what we used to call Muppet Corner, down Horseway Sluice, and that would actually lead you to the Old Bedford.
yep, that's right, yep,
Yeah, and that's why the Old Bedford is technically navigable
yep,
because you used
that's
to
right.
be, yeah, you used to be able to get all the way down there, and then I
Uh-huh.
think you could even get out of the end into the Ouse. So it was actually used as a route by boats.
It did. Well, I can remember they used to have one boat go through every year, and it was near enough to the first round of the Chatteris Winter League. And this boat used to go through, and bearing in mind it's only about 8 metres wide and about a foot and a half deep, you can imagine what happened
Yeah, yeah. But obviously
every year.
before it got
It
silted
used to
up,
go through.
yeah, before it
Mm,
got silted up too badly, it was
mm.
used as a navigation route. So it's a bit of a shame, really, that it's not. I reckon if it was turned back into some kind of navigation route, the fishing would improve dramatically because you'd have triple the depth there, wouldn't you? And it'd be a far more habitable
Yeah,
place for fish to sort of move into and take shelter from predators. But hey
definitely.
ho! But yeah, it's a good spot, Horseway Sluice. That's a blast from the past.
Yeah. I know a few of the Chatteris lads come in the shop, so I'll ask them if they've been down there. I know they've fished it a bit in the summer and that, but yeah, the 40 foot drain there, it's a bit forgotten really almost. It's sad, but yeah, another venue that's sort of close to my heart really from fishing matches as a junior and that, and then obviously fishing with the March Angling Club is Morton's Lee. Um, a venue that's a bit different to a lot of the drains. It's narrow but very deep. Um, Obviously, it runs from um, the dog and doublet end up there all the way on that comes off the knee net. Wilsey goes all the way, sort of dead straight, and then goes back into the knee net Rings End. And the amount of matches we've had over the winter, especially in the early pegs nearest the sluice, 12, 15, £16, occasionally £20. I mean, you never used to get big weights like you do now, but no one really fishes it. Obviously, the access isn't as good as it used to be. You used to be able to park behind your peg, but you can still park in the angler's car park and walk over the flood bank, walk along there to the right, and I'm sure you'll catch plenty of fish.
That was
I'm
the
sure.
first Fenland waterway that I ever fell in.
Really?
Yeah, I remember it. I even remember it now. Dad used to take myself, Mark Johnson, and Chris Johnson. They were two lads that lived two houses down from us.
Yeah.
And Dad had a trailer on we put all the fishing gear in the trailer and had the tow bar, put it on the back of the car. We used to get down there, and I still remember it. It was I could have been about 6 or 7. I caught a fish. Dad had hooked it, and it flipped out of his hand. And I remember picking it up, and I was so keen to get this fish back.
Yeah.
I literally picked it up and swooped on it and put it into the water in the same motion. I just followed it, head over heels, straight in. We didn't go
Yeah.
home. I stayed there in my soaking wet stuff, and we fished it. Would you believe, down at Rings End, we used to catch quality roach in the tidal side?
Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, they used to get somehow. Obviously, when the gate was up, they used to move right down to the junction where the Needham would come in, and depending on which tides, you used to get some quality roach in there. And also,
Yeah.
we used to fish the March Farmers stretch. Do you remember that bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember that well. Yeah.
And what was the drain behind it called? Is it called the counter wash?
Counter drain.
Counter
Yeah.
drain. That used to have the prettiest looking pike in ever.
Yeah.
They were like golden. They weren't massive, but I remember, God, this is again a long time ago. It was just kind of like, I think I must have been chucking sprats out on a snap tackle and just pulling back. It's so clear you'd see the fish coming after them, but they were like
Yeah.
golden colour. They were beautiful. And
Yeah.
of course, the carp. It used to throw up some monstrous carp.
Morton's Leam did. Yeah.
Yeah. But I've heard horror stories of counter drain being netted, parts of Morton's Leam being netted, not just by people taking fish for food, but people actually taking the carp out and selling them. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
bit of a sad one that. And also, if you go down Rings End Park down there, you need to be careful because we do hear stories of cars getting broken into. So, it's kind of it's one of those. It's a proper what I call a proper Fen place. It's a bit roguish, isn't it? And there's probably some surprises
Well,
still in there. You just got to go and give it a go, but you just got to
I
keep.
don't know. I think the car park does get used quite a bit now because of the dog walkers and that.
Oh, cool! But
Yeah.
it was a bit of a danger spot. But it's one of those places where it's out of the way, and you just got to go and give it a go. I know down the Peterborough end. What's it called down there when it goes?
Delph.
Yeah,
The Delph end. Yeah.
it has seen way too much attention from how can I put it politically? Fish thieves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
still getting a lot of hammer down there. But yeah, good, that's another good mention, Alex. That's a blast from the past. That one.
It is, and it's still full of fish. It has to be.
Well, there's a
They
lot of
haven't
it.
disappeared there.
If you're
Yeah,
prepared
there's
to
miles
walk,
and miles.
yeah, if you're prepared to walk and give it a go, I bet you can find some surprises down there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I've always said one day I'd like to walk from Rings End all the way up to like the Delph end, and then get a taxi home or something. Someone to come and pick you up. That's a long old walk. That is.
Yeah, there's a wash, isn't there, over Morton's Lane? There used to be like an area they used to flood. I don't know if they still do.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it used to be a bit of a marshy type washland area as well. So it's a bit like Welney, but a lot smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that was my first ever junior match on there, on Morton's Lane, when I was 7 years old. So I can remember them, got pictures of them downstairs somewhere, of me sat there on a Shakespeare seat box with a 9 metre pole and, round bait box tins. I mean, they're a thing of the past now, round bait box tins, aren't they?
Yeah. Why don't they do them anymore?
Well, they don't fit nicely on side trays, do they?
What with your spirit levels and
Yeah, with
Yeah.
spirit levels and add-on trays and
yeah, and your big red maggots and
yeah,
yeah.
and top kit roosts for top kit roosts and yeah, fishing's evolved.
You have round ground bait buckets.
Yeah, yeah.
They fit in there,
Yeah.
don't they?
Oh, you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, you don't get rid of me that easily.
Yeah, that's all right. And I
Yeah.
pressed the button on my phone. I don't know what happened, but yeah.
Cool. Have you got any more
yeah.
little gems up your sleeve that you want to mention?
There was the old Bedford Welney, but I think you have to be a member there, so you have to make sure you get the right club book. I know there's tons and tons and tons of fish stacked in there near the Lamb and Flag pub there. I presume you fished it quite a bit for pike, have you, Andy?
Well, not back in the day.
Yeah,
Welney, you have to become a member of the club,
yeah,
and that membership lasts for 5 years.
yeah.
And then you buy your book, your season ticket book, and they've
Right.
had to introduce this years ago due to obviously problems with people just
Yeah.
stealing fish again. So
Mhm.
they have had big problems down there, and I was on the committee of Welney a long, long time ago. Again, a really,
Right.
really well-run club.
Yeah.
Um, Old Bedford gets really silted up, and Environment Agency were dredging large parts of it, but I don't know what's going on there now because I know English Nature, but I think they've changed their name to something else. Used to, is it Triple SI sites? They had an interest in part of it downstream of
Right.
Welney. I think the three spine stone loach was one of the things they used to try and protect down there. So yeah, the Old Bedford's it's a lovely. It's one of the. Do you know? I'm going to give you a history lesson now. It's one of the oldest drains we have in Fenland.
Mhm.
It was dug by Scottish. I get me get this right. Scottish prisoners from the Jacobite Rebellion.
Right.
Yeah, I think 1700 and something. Yeah, an old friend of
Is
mine.
that is that when St Ives Angling Club
Yeah,
started?
it must have been.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
an old
Yeah.
friend of mine called Alan Ward used to give me history lessons on the Old Bedford. Yeah, but yeah, it's one of the oldest drains. It's 24 miles long, and they those prisoners dug it out by hand. But
Yeah.
it used to be a fantastic drain. Used to have all sorts in it, and it's one of those places I haven't fished it for years because it's just again it's received too much attention from the wrong people. A lot of fish have been taken. Alan Nelson, he bless him, he's up and down that place all the time on his bicycle trying to keep on top of things.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing drain because it also had lots of pollution problems, and it
Yeah.
still keeps coming back and throwing up fish. So it's the old
I mean,
Bedford.
silverfish fishing, it's awesome in
Well,
the town
I
there.
was going to tell you a tale about many years ago. This is God, 20 odd years ago. I found members of the Environment Agency netting it for
Right.
for a survey. Right
Yeah.
next, actually next to the Welney Bridge. And I remember saying to him, I said, "It's all well and good doing it here. Why don't you do it upstream and downstream?" And I shall never forget the guy's answer. He turned around and said, "Well, there's no point doing it there because we won't catch anything."
Mm.
And that's the problem in the winter. Obviously, you get this migration of fish into the one area, and that's why the fishing is really good in one small spot, but to the detriment of the rest of the drain. Yet in the summer, you can walk miles, you can rake swims and catch some quality tension bream. But
Mm.
in the winter, it just seems to
Is
completely
is it the
fish.
Delft that changes name at Maney there goes to the counterwash?
They both do. So
Yeah.
let me get this right. At Maney, you get Welch's Dam,
Yeah.
and so we're going upstream now. So the Old Bedford becomes the counterwash, and
Yeah.
the Delft becomes the Old Bedford, just to confuse everybody.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So they changed names, and then of course you've got the 100 Foot, which is the tidal river, a bit further
Yeah.
along as well.
Yeah.
And
Which
again,
is the new Bedford River.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's the confusion. Again, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Large lengths of that area down there. I mean, it's pretty barren. You've got to walk a long, long way. You can't get to what I would call the Delft because you've got little drainage ditch between it and the Old Bedford.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's proper out the way stuff. And I remember a long time ago, I was walking my dog from Welney Bridge upstream, and I'm sure he disturbed the lynx in the long grass one summer.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you hear stories of wild cats out there that way because they've
Yeah.
been released. But yeah, he went flying through the undergrowth. We were walking between the Old Bedford and the Delft, and he went flying through the undergrowth. And I saw this sandy-coloured thing with big ears, sort of springing sidewards through the grass. And you get a glimpse, and I thought, that's a cat. It's huge. And I
Mm.
spoke to a friend of mine who is an RSPCA inspector, and he said, yeah, they get reports of people dumping exotic pets in all sorts of places, and very. If you spend any nights out there fishing, it's very strange noises in the middle of the night. It's kind of a proper fen place to be, but it's beautiful.
Mm.
But sadly, nowhere near its former glory. It's
No, because you're not allowed to fish down there certain times of year. Is that right? Because
yeah,
of the RSPB.
you got the post office mile stretch, which is downstream of Welney Bridge on the Delft. And
Mhm.
there's post markers that you're not allowed to fish. So that's, I can't remember exactly when. I think it's the end of October till March time because of the wading birds. Because obviously they flood the washes and you get
Yeah.
loads of different wading birds come in, and the amount of swans and geese and so forth is quite amazing. Back in the day, I used to have access through farmers' land, and I remember one day I was actually just behind one of the flood banks with my pipe rods out, and there had been loads of geese had taken refuge in this field,
Mm.
and I was just walking along in the half light, so it must have been my first move, and I could see these gun muzzles sticking out over the flood bank. And I thought, bloody hell, what's going on here? And the farmer and his mates had clicked that these geese were there. They were waiting for them to fly over. And I was in the firing line. This buckshot was going over my head as these geese were flying over. But yeah, again, that was a long time ago. But yeah, we spent a lot of time down there, 15, 20 years ago. And I remember one morning in the gloom, I thought it was a massive bin liner just appeared, just popped up right in front of where me and my mate were. You couldn't have popped up in a better place. It was a bloody great seal. Just popped
Yeah.
up right in front of us, and it must have picked a big old eel, and it was smacking back this eel as we were watching it. But yeah, so lots of fond memories. But I've been back to different spots, and apart from the well-known places at like Whelney, it's been devastated. Really, it's got a hell of a lot of emitting crab problem. I know they're
Has
burrowing.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
on both drains there, they're burrowing into the bank, and they have been for quite some time. And there's a huge otter population along both because it's perfect for them, isn't it? It's very out the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And there was a seal in the old Bedford. I think it must have been 2 or 3 years ago now that got into the Delf. So,
Right.
combined with all the pollution that it's had, it has this. Every 2 or 3 years, it has a big problem with the water quality, and the EA have to rush down there with pumps and all sorts. It's always on the cusp, and it's such a shame because it reminds me of how the Thurn is in Norfolk.
Right.
You get onto these proper, what I'd call old school, proper natural big fish waters. You got like Canadian pondweed, lily pads, very clear. It's got its own characteristics, and just beautiful water quality. But these days, it just seems to be so choked and silted. It's kind of suffocating itself. It's a shame. I'd love it to get back to its former glory, but I think it needed a lot of money thrown at it from the Environment Agency with dredging, and I don't know whether the conservation side of things would let them actually get on there with the dredgers. So it's yeah, a bit of a shame. I've been rattling on, but it's brought back lots of memories when I used to fish it a long, long time ago.
Mm. Yeah. I can remember going down the counter washing my dad years and years ago, and we caught next to nothing. But it was one of them you just had to sort of try. And I know it used to be Histon Angling Club. I don't know if it still is or not, but my dad used to tell me stories of all the matches he used to have down there, and yeah, it's quite interesting, really.
Is that a Maney?
Yeah, so the other side of Welsh's Dam or whatever is
Yeah, is
what
it
they call
Pingle Pit
counter wash.
that you have down there?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, they
Yeah.
used to have matches on all along there. So
Well, behind Pingle Pit, in that part of the counter wash, it's really, really narrow. And
yeah,
in the what is technically the Delf, but called the Old Bedford, you used to have one or two really big carp, and the carp anglers at Pingle Pit used to go onto the Delf and hand feed these fish, one in particular,
right.
and it was a no not to try and catch it. It was that tame. It was a clonker. It was over £40. Yeah,
Really?
it was huge, but they all knew not to give it a go because it was kind of like no great angling feat to catch these fish because it was a bit tame.
Yeah.
But that was a long, long time ago. Yeah, interesting bit of water. It's amazing, really, when you talk back. There's a lot of different places that have got loads of stories attached to them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool. Any more little gems you got in your notepad?
I've got tons of venues here. I mean, I think each week we're going to cover different areas of the fens. You know, perhaps like next week do the Ramsey waters a bit, and then sort of go more sort of Tid, South Holland, Holbeachy, Bostony way. And
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll tell you what
I
I'm going
think
to do as
because
well.
they're all drains, aren't they? And it's all part of the fens.
Well, I've got a bit of time on my hands, and what I'm going to do, I am going to have a go on St Ives next week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a go, and I will report back. And the following week, obviously, I'll have a go on one of the venues that you mentioned next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I catch
What's
it,
the pike?
no, I don't, mate. I might, I might do a bit of perch fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly am struggling with the pike. It's since I come off the big waters, oh, it just seems everywhere I go, I just see death and destruction. I don't want to be doom and gloom, but I don't want to mention the Fenland Guardian scheme this week, but it's getting bad. There's a lot
Mm.
of characters who don't have fish welfare at the forefront of their mind. There we go. That was very politically correct, wasn't it?
Mm.
And I think there's a lot of places have taken an absolute hammering. It's not good, and it doesn't bode well for the next few years if we don't get on top of it now. So, but yeah, what I'm going to do, if something takes my fancy, and talking to Mick, I was thought, oh, I fancy doing that stretch. So if I get a big one, I won't tell you. If I get
Mhm.
lots of if I get lots of small ones, I will tell you. And if I blank, I will tell you. So there we go. I'll give it away some way, one way or another. No, we're going to have a little trip down to one of the sections next week, I think, and then the week after, like I said, I'll drop in somewhere else and just report back, see what I can see, because that'd be quite fun as well. Right. Did you notice that the Environment Agency have put fish into Tidgurt?
Yeah, I did see that. It's brilliant, isn't it? I
That
know they've done quite a bit for Tid, haven't they?
they have. Very proactive, and it was lovely to see. Um, you know what I'm going to say.
Go on.
It's all right putting these fish in, but just don't want the cormorants to come back. So there is a license. There used to be to get a license that you could shoot 3,
Right.
but it never said how many you could wing. Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
Right.
Well, if the EA are going to put loads of fish into goat, which is brilliant, and don't get me wrong, I think it's a fantastic thing to do. They've got to also help the club keep on top of these predators as well, because otherwise it's just going to be cormorant fodder, isn't it?
Mhm.
That was the
Yeah.
only thing I was thinking about it. So, hats off to the
Or what they need to do is build a great big town round Tid somewhere, and then all the fish will go in there, migrate, and be safe. No cormorants because people will be about. It'll be just like March.
yeah. We could just have big gun turrets and just blast the buggers out the sky as they come over. That'd be more fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Now, on a serious note, though, I think it's brilliant what the EA are doing. They've
it
obviously
is. Yeah.
looking after Tid, which is really good stuff. And Tid is a lovely drain. And I was working out today, 42, 43 years I fished it on and off. That shows you I'm getting old. I remember
Mm.
Ken Coombs, and old anglers will remember Ken Coombs. I'm sure he was a teacher at the Queen's School. He took me and Dad fishing, and even my little sister. My sister came, who would have been about 4 or 5, and we all sat down at Main Road. And I remember I was catching little gudgeon, and I was absolutely made up. And this guy Ken Coombs
Yeah, it used to be full of gudgeon, didn't it?
took us under his wing and showed us how to fish down there. But it was absolutely loaded with these. Well, I'd say about ounce gudgeon, and an ounce gudgeon's quite a long fish, isn't it? They're about 4 or 5 inches long.
Mm.
Some of these things.
Yeah, it used to be full of gudgeon, didn't it?
Did you ever catch any chub out of it?
No,
Yeah,
no.
chub in North Level. I'm sure they've had.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure they've had them up to £5. Did you know there was zander in there at one point?
No?
Yep. I know of some guys who have claimed to put zander in there in the 70s,
Right.
but obviously they shouldn't have done that, and that's not to be
Yeah.
not to be promoted. But yeah, they tried it. Did not take a foothold at all. But yeah, definitely chub. They've had chub in there and all sorts. So it's an interesting drain. So anyway, I'm waffling. Thanks to the EA for that. But come on, guys, if you're going to put fish in, which obviously costs a lot of money, you're going to have to help the club out with the cormorants and one or two other incidents they're going to have or having as well with illegal fish removal. So yeah, they just need a bit of help, I think. But it's Good stuff to get fish restocked. Right, buddy. Marcus Aurelius, wasn't he something to do with Gladiator?
I was going to say, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
aka
was the gladiator.
yeah, wasn't he father of a murdered wife and father of a murdered son, and he'll get his revenge in this life or the next. I'm
Yeah.
sure Russell Crowe said it better than that, but
Yeah.
something like that. Right, I'm going to mention this to you. I'm going to find it on our Facebook page, and hopefully I won't cut you off. Yeah, so Mark Shipley has had what I think is the essence of a brilliant idea, but it kind of needs us to share it with lots of people and see what people think. Now, obviously, myself and Alex had a bit of a chat about this beforehand, and this idea has lots of pros, and with everything in life, one or two issues as well, but maybe there's a way around it. So, Mark's idea is there any possibility in the local angling clubs getting together and having their own league? Oh, maybe that's him messaging me now.
Possibly.
Possibly. So he was suggesting that local angling clubs have a league, and each time they have a match, they fish different waters. So let me explain that better. Let's just say, top of my head, you've got Tidgurt, I don't know, Marchant District, let's say St Ives, give me one more, Ramsey. There we go.
Yeah, whole beach.
Let's just stick with, my brain's not working, buddy. Right, there's four. So if you've got Tidgoat, Ramsey, St Ives, and Marchant District, just for argument's sake. So you have a 4-match series. Say,
Right.
match 1 would be on Tidgoat, match 2 would be on March, match 3 would be down the St Ives, and match 4 would be on one of the Ramsey waters. So each time they have a match, one of the clubs hosts the match. And then he thought about having a final somewhere, and his suggestion was Pidley. And so
Right.
they could have a final at, say, Rookery Waters, a little bit like your Winter League matches by the sounds of things.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. So obviously I'm thinking this would be an awesome idea for like anglers who want to taste slightly bigger matches but perhaps don't feel confident or aren't able to fish the bigger matches like you guys do.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, it's quite a big step going from your club match to entering even an open or fishing with the big boys in like your setup. There must be quite, I should imagine it's quite a gap, whether it be a mental gap, as in people's confidence or ability or time or whatever. And I'm thinking, that's quite a nice idea. And obviously, putting it on at a different venue for the final gives it a different flavour. So I think that's got loads and loads and loads of mileage. Now, that's the pros, or some of the pros. The cons would be, I can see with some of the clubs in the winter, it could annihilate their own club matches, couldn't it? So,
Yeah.
I don't know, if they've got a team of 5, say, and Tid go to Ramsey to fish the match at Ramsey with Marchant District and St Ives, it could potentially mean that there's no one left to fish the Tid Goat matches or the March matches or whatever club we're talking about. So obviously that would be the downside. So, there's no point organising an inter-club league which decimates the club. So, yeah, like everything in life, sort of swings and roundabouts. I know, Alex, we sort of mentioned maybe they have smaller teams like 3s, but then again, it's reducing the amount of people that can enter. I don't know. What's your thoughts on this? Where do you sit with all this?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, like I say, it is a good way of trying to sort of next step up from your club match to a open match sort of team fishing winter league. The only problem is I think a lot of the anglers that fish in those clubs like to stay local. They like the times that they fish. They know the venues, and I don't know. I just think maybe that it would take away that club feel about it. But there's no reason to say why you can't make it teams of three, have a 3-match series, or like even a knockout type thing. Have it around sort of in a hat. St Ives are drawn St Neots, and they go through to the next round, and then a bit like the Super Cup type thing, but for the local clubs. So
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, talking about St Ives, they have their pairs matches. The wrong word. They have their inter-club matches anyway. They had one with St Neots, and they're looking for other clubs, so that would be a possibility.
yeah,
Yeah, I think also it would work in a bizarre way if there were less matches in the setup.
hmm
So I don't know if there were 6 clubs that wanted to do this, then you'd have like two divisions. You have a north and a south, so they only had 3 clubs in each, so it would only involve having 3 matches.
hmm
That might work better, and then they can have a final. Say, if they did want to have a final at a commercial like Piddly, then it would work because there's more space, and they can have it in the close season.
yeah. I think the final would definitely be on a natural venue, because that's what these clubs 99.9% of the time fish.
Well, that's what you said to me the
Um,
other day. You said they probably would
yeah,
prefer to have the final on a natural venue. I
yeah,
think I think for listeners, if people are interested, and Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we'd be happy to back it, and we'd be quite
yeah,
happy to be involved with the final, because
yeah.
one of the suggestions Mark had was actually having a live podcast on it, and I think that'd be a brilliant idea. Hand
hmm
on heart, with the Fenland Guardian scheme and doing the podcast, I know I haven't got the time to get involved with organising anything else. And I know with all the things that you do with the tackle shop, obviously that's your income and that's your business, but you've also got fingers in pies in organising other things as well. And I think, would I be fair in saying that we'd support this wholeheartedly if the clubs organise it themselves?
hmm
Is that a
hmm
fair comment?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So we're trying to share the idea. So if clubs are interested, obviously, I like this word. We could be the conduit to put each club in touch with each other.
oh,
We'd like that, the
conduit.
conduit. Yeah.
Is
Obviously,
that what you use when you are texting, putting in the corners?
no.
Conduit.
Someone used this word the other day, and I don't want to say too much, but he's being the conduit for me to have a Zoom meeting with a organisation that we need fishing wise for something. I don't want to say too much about it, but the
Yeah.
next few weeks
Okay.
I might be able to elaborate. But
Conduit.
when he
Isn't
used
that what
the,
they used to put electrics in?
yeah, it's like a pathway.
That's it.
Yeah, so we'll
Yes.
be a conduit for these angling clubs, and maybe if clubs are interested, they have one person from each club, and they all get together with like-minded clubs. It might be a really good thing. I think it could possibly be a really good little kind of winter league series. They'd have to also consider, I think, putting it on the dates when the big opens are on and your matches are on, the big winter league matches. I'll tell you why.
hmm
To stop these guys who are in these big matches also competing in these smaller matches, because that would defeat the object, wouldn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
with me? You want guys that don't get the chance to fish in these big matches, or perhaps want to work up to it, to have a go. So you kind of would like to, in order to clear the playing field, as it were, make it so the other guys who are in like Daiwa tackle and baits or browning hot rods were actually involved in other things, so they couldn't fish.
hmm
Because I think otherwise you could have the same guys in all of it. It just defeats the object. So that's something else people would have to think about. But I think it's got mileage. I really do. And like I said, I think we'd say we'd fully back it and endorse it, and we'd obviously help out with the final. But
Mm.
it would need clubs picking this up and running with it beforehand. So, Mark, great idea. Yeah, I think it's got a lot of potential. Right, buddy. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Not really, mate. I think we've covered quite a lot of venues there, and I think in the next few weeks we'll cover quite a few more. I've got a massive list of venues here, so yeah.
Cool, that's good. Yeah, so just for everybody listening, a bit of a different flow to it this week. It's doing it on this format's not easy via the phone, is it? We can't see when we're not talking,
No,
so it kind of a bit.
it's, obviously we haven't got the match results as well to go on from
Yeah.
last week, so.
But we'll get there. We'll make it work. Cool.
Yes.
Right. Might have a guest next week, but he might be a surprise. I will tell you off air who I am having a chat with on Wednesday, but that will be a surprise for everybody else. Right, Alex, that's awesome. Thank you for your time yet again. Thank you to everybody listening. This has been Tales from the Tackle Shop, a Fenland Fishing TV production.